Hi, Anushree. How are you?
Hi, Sweta. Very well. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So, the trailer of Mrs. Undercover is just another world. Like, it's crazy and it's also brilliant. I mean, at least the trailer looks like it. So,
Thank you.
where did the journey begin? Like, the entire thing?
Actually, the journey began 5 years ago when I actually thought of the idea of Mrs. Undercover because I wanted to turn director. I was a writer and a producer then, and I really, really wanted to turn a director. But you know, to be able to direct something, to tell a story, it's important for me that it has my whole heart, my whole soul. And I always want to tell masala Hindi entertainers, but with a social message, because that is very important to me. As a filmmaker, I think it's a power and a responsibility that every filmmaker has. And I genuinely want to stay true to it. So I just kept on thinking, ki, what is that one story that really, really, really would have my heart? And one morning I did think of this idea magically. And it was just an idea. So I just narrated it to my business partner. And now he's produced this film, Mrs. Undercover. His name is Abir Sen Gupta. So I narrated it to him. And he said that this is a banger of an idea. And जिस दिन तुम ये लिख दोगी ना उस दिन मैं ये picture produce करूँ. So thoda time beat gaya, and then he was busy making Indu Ki Jawani. So during that time, I actually wrote the film. And I think on the last day of his shoot, I told him I've written the script and I narrated it to him. And he said, "This is perfect. Now, who do you want to go to? Who do you want to cast?" And I just said, "Please, please take me to Radhika Apte. I want to narrate this film to her. And if she agrees to do this film, I mean, I'll be over the moon." So he took me to Radhika. We set up the meeting and we went to her house. And I started narrating the film to her. And she just suddenly stopped me after 5 minutes. She said, Anushree, 1 minute, huh? I'm doing this film. Haan, aage kya hota hai? So my narration was not even completed. And I just didn't know how to react at that point. But I was obviously very, very happy.
So, by
And the
this time,
journey just began.
what had you revealed? Like, in those 5 minutes, what did you tell her? Did you tell her about her character or like the storyline, or where did it go?
Yeah, so what I actually narrated to her was ki it's Mrs. Undercover is a spy comedy, which is about Durga, who is a typical middle class Indian housewife with a 6 years old son, a mother-in-law who has partial amnesia, a father-in-law जिनको दिखाई सुनाई नहीं देता without a कान का machine and chashma, has a husband, a little child जो ऐसी मस्ती करता है कि सीधा मर जाएगा. तो she is handling so much on her own, this crazy mela that we all live in. Our every household is like that. So she's single-handedly, like every homemaker does, she's handling that. But she's actually an undercover agent who was made to get married over here because it was her cover. And she was asked to wait for orders, which never came for 10 years. And after 10 years, suddenly, now she has orders. And now she's like, मेरे बेटे की unit test है 7 दिन में, मैं नहीं करती है. Because now she's a mom and nothing can ever supersede that. So I think that is when she kind of stopped me and said, Ki, I'm doing this because obviously there's going to be a mission and an interesting villain and all of that. But the journey of a woman, a housewife, a mother, a daughter-in-law, all of that a woman really is what Mrs. Undercover is. And I think that is the potential that she saw in the film and in me. So that's what I believe made her say yes to the film. And I was very excited that day. पर उसके 2 दिन बाद लॉकडाउन हो गया. So then we had to kind of, yeah.
All right. As you mentioned also, and we've seen in the trailer, Radhika's character is like this typical orthodox, also woman whose like biggest challenge in life is her kids' unit test. But she's
Yes.
also but she's also very dynamic and flexible, and perhaps an undercover agent, because your trailer ends with this scene wherein she's told that it's only in her dreams that she's an undercover agent.
Yeah.
So the housewife part, I think we've seen. If you've seen your surroundings enough with open eyes and you realize what people are doing around you, you would know that part. I mean, that's very common. But
Yeah.
to pair that with an undercover agent,
Yeah.
were there any reference points in real life around you that you took, like, to create the character?
Well, like you very rightly said, that the most relatable part of the trailer as of now is that the protagonist is a housewife, a homemaker. Most of us have grown up in households where our moms have been homemakers or are homemakers. But obviously, none of us know any spies, right? I don't know any spies. I don't know anybody who knows a spy, especially somebody who's, undercover as a housewife and all that. So obviously, it's a work of fiction. And I practically don't have any reference point for that. It's just that as a writer, it's a figment of my imagination and a possibility, that what if, जिनको आप ये कहते हो कि यू आर जस्ट अ हाउसवाइफ, क्योंकि उनकी सैलरी नहीं होती, उनको दे डोंट earn money or materialistic stuff for the household. It has happened over time that the most important thing that is nurturing that these amazing women do has been undermined. कि मतलब मैं बाहर काम करती हूँ या करता हूँ तो मैं पैसे कमाती हूँ या कमाता हूँ तो मैं और मेरा काम ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है, लेकिन तुम्हारा नहीं है. That disparity is so wrong, because if a housewife ever stops, our homes will stop, we will stop. We won't know how to function. It is because of them that we function. And that is what I wanted to celebrate, that do not undermine her, because she is Durga in herself. She has those 10 hands. She can do whatever she wants to, but she chooses to be there for you. That is to be celebrated. उसको नमन करना चाहिए, उसको undermine नहीं कर सकते. But I wanted to say that in a very entertaining, film format. And I love spy movies. I love spy comedies. I've always wanted to make action movies. So I wanted to amalgamate that into a masala Hindi picture that I've grown up watching, in the stalls of Chandan and Shan theaters, which were very popular theaters in Bombay. So that is the kind of entertainment that I want to create. At the same time, I definitely want to give out very important social messages through all my movies.
Your lead character is also called Durga, and the trailer also shows glimpses जिससे कि हमें लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं the imagery of goddess Durga has clearly been used. And it is also a common usage in our films, especially Hindi films.
Yes. Yes.
Especially if you're trying to portray a strong woman who emerged from a very domestic setup.
Yeah.
In Hindu mythology, we also have goddess Kali.
Yes.
And her image is very rarely used in our films. How do you see the difference between these two and their usage in our cinema?
Well, मुझे तो यही लगता है, as far as what I have read, I just know that ये सारे दुर्गा माँ के ही तो रूप हैं. We talk about Kali Ma or Katyayani Ma or anybody, any goddess that we talk about, they are all forms of Ma Durga. So it really depends on how we are projecting, a certain character and what we want to relate it to in terms of, fictionalizing a character and then amalgamating it with a metaphor using our gods and goddesses. So Ma Durga is an amalgamation of all of this. So she has unke various jo swarup hote hain, which is there is a nurturing side, and there is a loving side, and there is a learned side. and there is a Rodra Swarup also. So it depends on what you bring out in a woman. She has everything. She has those 10 hands. वो खुद में अपने आप में नवदुर्गा है. That is why we have Navratri and all of that. So in context of cinema, I feel it totally depends on what kind of characterization and storytelling we want to do, and then associate. So that is why associated and for me always, this is what I think, that cliches always work, and something that is relatable, that you have known before, that you're familiar to, because familiarity is very, very underrated, but it is something that actually draws you in emotionally. And then if I'm able to tell a story that is different, that talks about something that you relate to, but takes you out of the box and makes you enjoy it and yet feel it to your heart, is what I've tried to do, in spite of, like you said, the reference of Ma Durga having been used before a lot of times, but still, it can be told differently, and that's what I've tried. Let's hope it works.
From Rajesh Sharma to Sumit, Radhika, everyone that we've seen in the trailer has they know their craft. They have a brilliant history of the kind of films that they've done. So how was it working with them? How was it directing them?
Actually, it was a very it was, I'll let me put it this way, a greedy filmmaker's choice to actually cast actors who are primarily amazing actors, like bona fide amazing actors. And that is something that, when I'm a writer and a director, I have not directed someone else's script. I created it from scratch. So I've been living it for more than 5 years now, like I told you. So only actors translate my vision and my direction on screen. And can you imagine anyone else apart from Radhika, just after watching the trailer? और राजेश सर जैसे उन्होंने चीफ रंगीला का कैरेक्टर प्ले किया, एंड इवन सुमित एज कॉमन मैन who's playing this bad guy. I mean, they are all just amazing actors, and I just had an amazing time directing them. मतलब monitor पे I have laughed, cried, fallen off my chair. I have like big reactions, and there have been my whole set applauding all three of them at different times. So it's been crazy ever since. So it's just such a blessing to work with such amazing actors, and then the collaboration really, really works, right? Ki when you're trying to do something different, maybe kind of introduce a genre like a spy comedy जो हमारी country में बनती नहीं है, and amalgamate it with these amazing actors, and of course these amazing technicians who work behind camera, who are actually the real heroes of making movies. So when all of these people come together, that is when I believe magic really happens, and I know that it has happened with my film. So I'm just very, very grateful that it all came together so beautifully for me, and it's all credit goes to my producer Abir Sen Gupta, because he's the one single reason this film is made. The easiest part of making Mrs. Undercover was that was my conviction in it, and my producer Abir Sen Gupta's conviction in it, that it is a banger of a film, and it is just going to work for everybody. Like the purpose that a filmmaker makes a film with, that you are going to have the heart of your audience, because it's made with so much love and hard work. That conviction I have always had. So that made my difficult journey easy. The difficult part of the journey was and is, I mean, it's been said and done to death, but it's real, it exists, that I am a woman filmmaker who wanted to and wants to make action movies also in the future. And while many people are receptive to the idea, not many people are very receptive, and especially a first-time filmmaker, not hailing from a film family, or not being married to a famous man, or not being a girlfriend of a famous man, or not being a sister of a famous man or a daughter of a famous man. I'm not attached to a man personally uh, who is famous or rich or very influential. I'm just a single middle class girl from Mumbai, from a Gujarati family, who has a dream and, of course, I'm sure some talent. And that is why I could make my movie. But there are people, men and women both, uh, who make it difficult for you because, probably it's a very alien idea still that women can, ki aurat Durga hoti hai actually. So this film actually is more for the women to believe, so to be able to believe in themselves more than anyone else believing in them. So that is and continues to be a difficult part.
Do you want to go into any sort of detail about the difficulties that you faced as a woman filmmaker, the first time woman filmmaker who's not related to the industry?
I'll tell you an instance that happened on set. And I mean, this is just a very small little thing that I'm telling you, but it would rather be more relatable rather than those everyday things that I think we all face. You are at such a high position, you're accomplished woman yourself. I'm sure you relate to what I am saying right now, that there are men and women who always who misogyny
No matter
is
where you
very.
are in life, I think you get that. No matter where you are.
Yes, exactly. So I think misogyny is such a big part of our conditioning as human beings globally, and it's not about India or our culture. It is a global phenomenon which we are all trying to fight. But now there are men and women who are a part of it conditionally, even if they don't want to be, they are, right? Sometimes we also are, unintentionally. But I have come to realize to keep a check on myself when I also fall into the trap of thinking about myself in a particular way. And in that capacity, my business partner and producer Abir Sen Gupta is a bigger feminist than I am. And I think such men should be celebrated because the way he stands up for me when, people told him, ki because he's an experienced filmmaker, right? So people told him कि आप रहेंगे ना सेट पे, अच्छा आप डायरेक्ट नहीं करेंगे, ये डायरेक्ट करेंगे. When we were pitching the film for funding and stuff like that. So he would always say कि मैं क्या करूंगा सेट पे रह के. Of course I will be there on set as a producer, but she is the director, she has written it. She is the one who narrated her film to Radhika Apte, and she has said yes for her film, not my film right now. I am the producer, I'm there to back her up, to empower her, not to say कि मैं रहूंगा तो सब सही हो जाएगा. So that's the kind of stance that he took for me. So on set one day, we were shooting an intense part, and it was late at night, and there was this one particular gentleman who's a technician, जो उनका department का कुछ गलत हो रहा था shoot में. So he was constantly, every time I would shoot the scene, he would say cut. He would say cut again and again, which is only a director's responsibility and right. So I finally kind of had enough because time was running out and I had to, shoot that scene. And as a director, you have to think about all departments, not just one. So I told the gentleman, I said, I'm here to say action, cut, all of that. Let me decide now whether it works or not. So, and then I told him that I think if a man was there in my place, you wouldn't dare to say, cut like that. When Radhika Apte is performing, another very senior actor from the Bengali film industry is performing. And Radhika jumped up from there and said, I totally agree with Anushree. This is not the way. If at all there was a male director, you would not dare to do something like this. So it is very wrong. And you please do what you are supposed to do, but do not interrupt like this. Do not interrupt her like this. So the camaraderie that we had as women, I think if all women have, then I don't think we would need empowerment movement, right? Because women are empowered already. Much more than anybody can imagine.
To believe in themselves.
Yes. And मुझे लगता है कि इस जर्नी में at least मुझे बहुत कम लोगों ने ये बोला है that अरे आप लड़की हो इसीलिए we are saying this or we don't believe in you or whatever. They make you feel you know they just make you feel that, and when you call them out they say हमने तो ऐसा बोला ही नहीं. But a director is a job, like a doctor or a teacher. It does not have a gender, right? I'm just doing my job and you do yours. I think coexistence is so simple, but just gotten so complicated unnecessarily. So this was one little instance that happened on set, and Radhika and I were like very much in sync that way. We were like fixing each other's crowns. So I think that way I've really lucked out with those handful of people who've stood by me like my rocks through the journey of my dream coming true.
That Mrs. Undercover also talks about women's safety issues, and from what I could see, it may be also talking about the importance of self-reliance and self-defense.
Yeah.
Compared to last generation, how far do you think we have come in those areas as a society?
As a society, I genuinely feel that there is definitely more awareness in conversation and on social media. But and I mean, everybody talks, emotes out of the limited understanding of environment and life that they have. मुझे पूरी दुनिया का knowledge नहीं है, or that not that I travel every day to see what is happening around, but as much as one reads or hears people talking, I feel it's a long way to go, because small things to big things, there's still that amount of conditioning that we are still fighting, and there's only that handful of people who live in all parts of the world in little pockets somewhere are campaigning for this he for she, or this equality, the feminism that we are all standing up for, the empowerment, the coexistence. But it is a long way to go, and I think we need to, as a medium, at least what I can contribute is to make more movies to spread awareness. But eventually it is a personal choice that everybody has to consciously make, and to sometimes we have to check on ourselves कि कभी कभी ऐसे होता है ना कि am I wearing the right kind of clothes for to whatever place I'm going, and it's not something, it's just conditioning. You
Yeah.
are okay.
You've been writing for projects, and this is your first one as a director.
Yes.
How
Yes.
different are things in terms of the way the team treats you and the kind of remuneration that you get as a writer and as a team?
Right. So, actually, thank you for asking this question, because as a writer, so I have जब मैं टीवी लिखती थी, तो that is probably the only time that I have written for someone else. After writing television, I kind of took a stand that now whatever I will write will definitely only be for my company and for me. It's writing is very personal to me, and जो भी लिखते हैं या जो भी कुछ create करते हैं, they might just understand how it's a part of your being, it's a part of your DNA, your blood, your flesh. It is who you are, and it is a very personal, existential thing that I hold very close to my heart. So writing has been a very personal journey. In terms of remuneration, I think there is a very I don't know if it's justified or not. It's just a thought that I'm sharing with you, that I am a first-time filmmaker, right? So I get paid a certain amount of money only, no matter how long I have to work for on the same thing. But as a first-time writer-director, मुझे इतने ही पैसे मिलेंगे is, and then they talk about industry standards. I don't know where they are, which book they are written in, but some industry standards. Now, I don't know where they are. So, but it does not depend on the amount of work that you're putting in or the amount of time you're investing yourself the time that you're investing into your work. Aside of that, अब जब मैं आगे पिक्चरें बनाऊंगी तो it will strangely depend on ये वाली film hit थी कि नहीं. So it's not like I am not putting in that amount of work that is required. Of course I am, right? It will take as much of my effort, time, energy, everything, but it will depend on whether your previous work is a hit or not. So Friday everything keeps changing, so I genuinely feel that if we start, and this is very idealistic, but if we start giving more importance to the kind of work that we are putting in, not basis gender, not basis that amount of कि हिट है या फ्लॉप है. अब तो वो भी बहुत ज्यादा डिबेटेबल हो गया है ना कि nobody really knows what's a hit and what's a, if you like something, वो तो हिट थी, ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता. So everything has gotten lost in translation. But in Mrs. Undercover, I'm grateful that I received the money. I mean, I got the money that I requested for. So I'm happy that way. I'm grateful. But I'm seeing people around me, first-time filmmakers around me, 2-3 films old filmmakers around me. In fact, recently there was a studio who said about one of our friends कि अरे उसकी last picture तो बहुत बड़ी flop थी. उसको हम we will not pay so much. So there is no ground to what they are saying, because a filmmaker will have to put the same amount of effort or probably more, right? Depending on the content, depending on what kind of a film it is, the scale of the film, all of that. A filmmaker works 24/7. It's a mammoth task. So there is that amount of it's strange. I don't understand it, but now it exists. But I'm just genuinely grateful that I made my film. I wrote, directed, and produced it with my business partner. So I'm genuinely grateful. Aside of all of these things that will there'll be something or the other that'll constantly go wrong. But I'm grateful for the great things right now because of the love that I've received on the trailer. I think मैं सब बुरी बातें भूल चुकी हूँ और मुझे सिर्फ ये दिखाई दे रहा है that my trailer is doing so well and I am receiving so much love as the writer and director of the film. तो फिर और क्या चाहिए filmmaker को?
True. I'm just hoping the film lives up to the expectations because बहुत ज़्यादा मजा आया था, and there have been too many times जब trailer में बहुत ज़्यादा मजा आया हो and the film is totally on a different scale.
Yeah, so, I know. I agree.
I mean, really hoping it does well, and it is a great film. So that's all.
I genuinely. Sorry.
You were saying something.
I genuinely believe, and I have that faith in my film that it has the heart in the right place. My film is all heart, and I mean, I'm sure there will be that audience that will see my hard work through the film, my team's hard work through the film. It will touch their hearts, and I just hope that it does well, and I somehow believe it in my heart that it will. And I hope that I keep entertaining through better movies each time, because I'm also learning with the kind of responses you would give me or the audience would give me. I would learn better to tell better stories. So that's what I aspire to do, keeping my fingers crossed.